What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of MLB Crunch Time here on RotoGrinders, sponsored by Fanduel. Happy to be with you on a Sunday afternoon, getting ready for a healthy 10-game MLB slate on this Sunday. So we hope you're having a great weekend, and maybe we can make some money on top of it here to close it out. That'll make it even better. So I am Justin Van Zuden, aka STL Cardinals 84. We'll be hosting the show for you, as I do a lot of times on Sundays. Happy to bring in two of my co-hosts as well. Keith Eister on one side. Keith, what's going on today?
Not much, man. Good little slate here. Got some good pitching. Offense is in some good spot. Should be a good one. Got some NASCAR to sweat later on too. So fun little Sunday.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a high-scoring slate today. So we'll dig into the reasons why here over the next 30 minutes or so. We'll take your questions in the RotoGrinders MLB Discord, the MLB Crunch Time channel. If you've got questions and you're a premium subscriber, you can drop them there. We can mix and match some comments from the YouTube chat as well. And we've also got Andre Alford with us today. Andre, what's going on?
Not much, just hanging in there. Glad to be here today. Hopefully gonna give people some good plays to win. Hopefully, these parlays that I put out there go off and hit and make people millionaires.
Man, you've been so close on those NBA ones.
Oh my god! I had to take a break yesterday because I was in such disappointment, such pain. Because I really was confident in that one, honestly. So I put like $200 down on it. Oh,
pain. Yeah. I took most of your picks and watered a couple down, left one out. But I had the Tatum 25 points got me.
Yeah, and that got me too.
Ridiculous. He had 23 with like 7 minutes left. Just
one basket.
I'm sitting there cheering him. I'm like, come on, Tatum, just take it to the basket and score it. Just didn't do it. So hopefully we'll get back to it tomorrow, though, in cash.
Getting pretty close on those big parlays is pretty cool. You can check out those picks if you wonder what we're talking about at scoresandodds.com. Sign up, get yourself premium access there. We all drop a lot of sports betting content. I got 3 or 4 MLB picks up there today. So if you're interested in the sports betting side, you can check that out at scoresandodds.com. And yeah, Andre's been real close with a lot of big NBA same game parlays for the finals. So maybe we can hit one here before the finals wrap up with that series tied at 2 games all. Is that 5th game tonight or is that tomorrow?
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. So plenty of time to get your thoughts together for how that 5th game is going to play out. But before we get there, we've got a pretty big MLB slate today, and we've got some interesting pitching at the top. We've got a couple of aces on the mound today, not super deep as far as pitching goes, but we do have a couple of high upside arms. Obviously, Verlander against Miami projects as the best. We've got Kyle Wright against the Pirates. Of course, the Braves are red hot. We've got Tariq Skubal on the mound today, though he's facing Toronto. And then the pitching talent kind of drops off from there a little bit. So, Keith, where are you looking with pitching targets today here on FanDuel?
So over on FanDuel, it's a little bit the pricing is tighter. So Justin Verlander is the clear number 1 option for me on both sides. Good matchup against Miami. Strikeouts are down a little bit from his peak, but he's still going pretty deep into games. Really nice leash there. Like this matchup against Miami. Kyle Wright is right there as a pivot with a great matchup against Pittsburgh. Tariq Skubal is an interesting one for me. On FanDuel, where he's priced up, it's a little bit more difficult today, but I really like that price on DraftKings. Tough matchup, as you mentioned, against Toronto. They've been really good against lefties, not striking out very much. But when you look at Tariq Skubal's skills this year, he is right there with Verlander in every category. He's taken a massive step forward this year. He's just becoming a true ace. So like if this was Verlander against Toronto, we would be playing him. I'm really liking the ownership number I'm seeing on Skubal.
Really low owned today. I think he's definitely in the tournament mix.
Yep, for sure. Michael Kopech is another interesting name. Like his price tag on both sites. Pretty good matchup against Texas for him. Ranger Suarez is an interesting one. I like the matchup against Arizona, but he hasn't been great this year. He's pretty cheap. He's in the mix, but I'm not loving the ownership I'm seeing there. Jeffrey Springs is another guy who's a little bit interesting. Minnesota's pretty good against lefties as well. But he's really taken a step forward since they've stretched him out here. He's been pitching much deeper into games. Pitch count will be around 80 to 85 most likely. So I don't mind taking some shots there. He's shown some strikeout ability as well.
Yeah, they actually let him get up to 92 against the Cardinals the other day. So it's, he's pretty much got no leash at this point, at least from the Rays perspective. Obviously, they limit their guys a little bit more. They're not going to let guys go out there and throw 110, 115, but he's been very impressive. So I like him today. A little bit better on DraftKings, another one that, where you need two pitchers. I think it's okay. But this mid-range is just, it's kind of a dead zone. Like Kopech, yeah, he's fine, but there's really no reason on FanDuel to go. I mean, Tyon, no strikeout upside. Hudson, no strikeout upside. Quintana against the Braves. Yeah, there's just not a lot in terms of mid-range guys to consider. So really on FanDuel, it's tough for me to go below Springs there as my single pitcher. Now, on DraftKings, it's a little bit more interesting where if you think that mid-range is just dead, like Suarez, as if we sort by our projected ownership right now, Suarez is the second highest owned. Like, I'm not really sure why there's this constant DFS fascination with Suarez. I get that he's cheap, but his strikeout rate is like 19% and his walk rate is 9 or 10%. He's just not been good. So I know he's affordable, but I just don't get it. So if I'm going super cheap, and again, you're only really doing this on DraftKings, but Cole Sands against the Rays, I think is at least interesting. It opens up your lineup to get more bats. He's only 5,300 on DK. So against that Rays lineup that does tend to strike out a lot, I think he's okay if you're looking to punt or not go double aces. But Andre, your thoughts on the pitchers today?
Pretty much I agree with everything that Keith was saying. But I'm high on Screwball too. But I actually do like Kyle Wright a lot today going against Pittsburgh. That's someone I'm going to try to be a lot well over the way to the field on. I just think that he's interesting in the matchup against Pittsburgh. I know like a couple of those Pittsburgh guys can hit, but this on the season with a 27% strikeout rate, I know he's walking batters about like 8%, but there's a lot of guys, but still the strikeout rate is overall 25% for Pittsburgh this year so far. So to me, I just love taking a shot with him in some tournaments. I know he's going to be high on DK, probably to pair with Verlander. But on FanDuel, where he probably is going to be hardly owned at all, like it was 16% still is a decent amount, but I think that obviously is going to be a little bit lower. So I think it's worth taking a shot at him for sure today. I can see him having a high strikeout upside game. Just maybe not on a level of Verlander as far as or Verlander Screwball as far as potentially getting to like 12, but I think I can see him around like 8 and possibly going like 7 to 8 innings today. And hopefully Screwball, continues to trend of pitching well, but to me, he's just right there with them.
All right, Keith, anything else you want to add as far as the pitching goes that we haven't covered yet?
I don't have any other names. I definitely agree with Andre. This is a really good matchup for Kyle Wright. Pittsburgh kind of has a reputation as a low strikeout team, but they've got Kevin Newman, who's super low strikeouts, is on the IL. They've shipped out Adam Frazier. So this is a different Pittsburgh team. That's a great call there from Andre. Good strikeout matchup for Kyle Wright. So just want to echo those sentiments. Agree with your Cole Sands call as well. Super interesting. Tampa Bay strikes out a good amount. So like that call. I think we've touched on pretty much all the guys that would be in my pool. Edward Cabrera, I guess, is another name. I don't really like the price. I hate the matchup against Houston. So I'll probably take a pass on Cabrera. Very talented young pitcher with a ton of strikeout ability, but just don't like the matchup today against Houston.
All right, let's pivot over to the offense and talk some stacks. There are a lot of high upside offenses today. Once again, you've got teams like the Braves who have won, a bunch of games in a row. The Phillies have won a bunch of games in a row in good matchups at home. They've got team totals well over 5 runs. The Royals have a high team total today against Baltimore. So, Andre, what are your thoughts as far as your favorite stacks today?
As we wrote up an extra survey today, I think my number one stack on the board was the Phillies. Just going against the Arizona, pretty much it's going to be pretty much like a bullpen game for them. So I love them, and also the weather there is good. It's good hitting weather, so I'm rolling with them as my top overall stack of the day today. But I do like getting into some of these other stacks. The more and more I kept looking at this slate, the more and more I keep finding a way to like Kansas City a lot today against Kramer. So there's someone I'm definitely high on today as well. And I kind of am interested in a little bit now in Washington. They've been also sneaking up for me a lot today as a sneaky stack. But I do also like having some of the Yankees. Atlanta, who's been red hot lately, playing really well. And a team, and then there was one other team I think I mentioned that I did like. Oh well, Baltimore on the other side of that game too as well is another team that I don't mind taking a shot on too in tournaments today.
All right, Keith, what do you like for stacks today?
I agree with Andre. The Phillies look really good. Their pricing across the industry is just they're a little bit low. Very talented offense, great matchup today. So agree that they are the top overall offense. I like the Braves quite a bit as well. I know Jose Quintana has kind of just had a resurgence this year, and he's pitched really well. But Atlanta is really hot. They won something like 9 in a row. Just a team that's really hitting it well, like Atlanta, a good amount. Milwaukee against Espino, who just doesn't have any skills. They are also a little bit underpriced, so I like Milwaukee. The Yankees had a bunch of home runs yesterday. Keegan Thompson's been decent this year. Struggled a lot in his last one, though, so I do like the Yankees as well. And agree the Royals is kind of an off-the-board stack. Like, you don't think of the Royals as a super talented offense, but Dean Kramer hasn't shown any skills in the majors yet, so I like that call as well.
Yeah, the Yankees were one of the first games on the night slate last night. There was only like 5 games, and I stacked the Mariners in the later game. And so every time I faded the Yankees from a game theory perspective. So each one of those 6 solo homers that Matt Swarmer of your Cubbies there, Keith, gave up, I was getting tilted every time. Especially since 2 of them came from Aaron Judge, who was like the most popular player on the slate. So, when you do that, if you've got a later game stacked up and chalky Aaron Judge hits 2 home runs, you're like, well, this is over before it really started for me. And then, Seattle ended up scoring like 7 runs. So I got a little bit back, but wasn't getting to the top there without the Yankees hitting 6 home runs and not having any exposure to them. So that's okay. We'll new day for the Cubbies today. Maybe they can hold down that powerful Yankees lineup. But I like those stacks. The Kansas City and the total in that game it's starting to get warm. Here in the Midwest, it's supposed to be like 100 degrees here in Illinois on Tuesday. And so you get some of these places like Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis. You're going to start to see the ball fly a little bit more there. And actually don't mind my Cardinals a little bit today. I know Ashcraft has good numbers in his first 3 or 4 major league starts, but 197 is the opposing BABIP against Ashcraft so far. So that's not going to last at that level. He's only striking out like 14% of batters. So don't be fooled. He's not like a 1.5, 2 ERA guy. Those numbers will level off after a while, but lots of good offenses on the slate today. All right, let's dig in. Keith, what do you like at catcher today?
All right. MJ Melendez has been hitting the ball really well, like his matchup against Kramer, like we mentioned, liking the Royal stack. Priced at 4,400, don't mind that. Adley Rutschman finally had a pretty good game here. A very talented prospect. He's only 2,600 on DK. William Contreras with the platoon advantage against Quintana looks pretty good. Alejandro Kirk. I don't love the Blue Jays stack. I mentioned I do like Scooball a ton today, but I don't mind playing some one-offs. He's 5,100. That's a crazy high price tag, but he's been hitting really well here recently. And then don't mind home run hunting with Kyle Higashioka from the Yankees.
Yeah, and of course on FanDuel you don't have to play a catcher. The Royals catchers though are a little cheap on FanDuel, so even though you don't have to play one, I certainly don't mind Melendez or Perez if you do, or if you're stacking. The catchers do tend to go a little under-owned on FanDuel. Andre, what are you looking at catcher?
I love Salvador Perez and MJ Melendez. Those are the 2 of my top guys on at catcher I'm looking today. I like JT Real Muto today against for Arizona. Going against Arizona today as well. Rutschman, I don't mind even taking a few shots at him against against Brad Keller. William Contreras is coming in at less than 1% ownership. We're part of this Atlanta Stacks. I know Atlanta's going to be a very popular team. And we always talk about this on the show that people don't like to play the back half of lineups. But to me, he's someone that's in play for me. And bad from the 7th spot at 1% ownership, I don't mind taking a shot against him going against Quintana. And then I also do like you mentioned Kyle, his Hachioga. I like him today as well. So and Omar Navarez, if you're going with Milwaukee, which is another stack I do like today a lot. I don't mind him.
All right, JMVP has asked in the Crunch Time chat, if you have a DK single entry and you only have one lineup for the day, what's the stack? Keith, I'll throw that to you. You got one single entry lineup. Who's your favorite?
I'll go Milwaukee. I know Andre's on Philly as well. I love the Phillies, but I think Milwaukee's in a great spot as well.
All right. I'm not as high on the Brewers simply because they haven't looked very good. They've lost 8 in a row, I believe. But the matchup is certainly good. So they can absolutely bust out, and you're not seeing super high ownership on them outside of like Urias and Adames. You can get a little different with those Brewer stacks. So, all right, let's move to first base here, where we do see ownership spread out quite a bit today. We all kind of like the Phillies. Hoskins is one of those guys that does seem a bit underpriced on every site today. Andre, I'll throw it to you. Who you liking at first base today?
Okay, first base. I like Rhys Hoskins a lot. One of my favorite guys to hit home runs today, as well as Rowdy Tellez, Anthony Rizzo, Trey Mancini, Ryan Mountcastle, Josh Bell, who's I like him a lot too as well. This is Matt Carpenter, who's now inserted into the lineup. I like him a lot today. He's not going to garner as much ownership. Well, he hasn't been garnering as much ownership as he should in general, but he's been playing well for the Yankees. So I would just keep riding with him and definitely have him in my stacks for sure. Yuli Gurriel, DJ LeMahieu. It's a lot of first basemen, honestly. I like. I can keep going on and on.
Yeah, it's a strong position for sure. I think Rizzo and Hoskins are probably two of the guys I'll have the most exposure to. Keith, where are you looking at first base?
Yeah, I like both of those guys as well. Hoskins in particular. Rowdy Tellez is too cheap. Love him today. Let's see here. I do like both of the Baltimore guys, Mancini and Mountcastle. Let's see here. Something I was looking at. Christian Walker is one I really like. Nobody's going to play him. He's been hitting a ton of home runs this year. He's in a great ballpark for home runs. So I love Christian Walker as a one-offer.
Yeah, interesting call today. You're going to see a lot of these first basemen go under-owned for sure, because of the fact that the position is so deep, and you've got the guys that seem a little cheap, like Hoskins, who's been swinging a red-hot bat there for the red-hot Phillies. All right, let's go ahead and move to second base. Keith, where are you looking at second today?
So on Fanduel, Baez is really cheap, $2,500. Definitely going to play some of him. Ozzy Albies is a great option. Had the big home run yesterday. Always love him against a lefty. Altuve is a good option at the top. Jonathan Scope, a little bit underpriced here on FanDuel. Don't mind Donovan, who grabbed the 5th spot there for the Cardinals. You mentioned liking that stack a little bit. Tommy Edmonds is a fine play as well. And then Jorge Polanco, I mentioned liking Springs, but I do like Polanco against a lefty. Yeah,
big fan of Donovan's game. He's kind of like an old school type. He'll probably end up in the leadoff spot, I would guess, at some point. He's not really a 5-hitter, but I don't know. The Cardinals have done some wonky things with their lineups, but Donovan is pretty affordable, particularly on DraftKings. He fits pretty well against that young pitcher today. So even though a lot of people might not know a whole lot about him, he takes really good at bats. I think he leads the league in pitches per at bat right now. So don't be afraid to take him as a value option, particularly if you like the Cardinals a little bit today. So let's see. Andre, your thoughts at second base?
Whit Merrifield is someone that stands out to me. It's probably one of my favorite players, especially with Kansas City being like probably a top team I would go with today. Jose Altuve, like him a lot today as well. Luis Arias from Minnesota. I like using him today a little bit today. If you're running a mini, like if you're in Minnesota, it's like as a secondary stack, not a primary. I do like Brandon Drury too as well in Cincinnati. And Bryson Stott, sorry, against Arizona. I like him today as well.
Yeah, he's an interesting prospect for the Phillies that, again, like their whole lineup, has just picked it up ever since they fired Joe Girardi. Their offenses look so much better. Whether that's cause and effect, we can debate that, but it's the results have been there certainly for the Phillies. I will stick with you, Andre, and let you move to third base.
Austin Riley, someone I think everyone's going to be playing today. He's a good, and rightly so, he's a good hitter. Especially going on with Atlanta playing really well right now. A guy like Alec Bregman, I like Bobby Witt as well. We mentioned Matt Carpenter before. I like him a lot today as well. And obviously he played in multiple positions, especially on FanDuel. I even don't mind taking a shot a little bit with some White Sox guys. So like a guy like Jake Berger. Not I would like play him a little bit, but not be too high on him. And I don't even mind taking a shot on a guy like Nolan Arenado today in St. Louis as a one-off.
Again, yeah, another position where you got lots of intriguing plays. Riley is probably going to be the most popular Rios for the Brewers because he's hitting cleanup on sites where you can get him at third base. Obviously, as someone who likes the Cardinal stacks a little bit, Arenado certainly fine. So love those calls at third. Keith, you got anybody to add at third base?
Alec Boehm is a guy, especially on DraftKings. I like that price a good amount, hitting lower in the order. So he'll be one of the lower owned Phillies, I think. Jace Peterson at the bottom of the Brewers order is also pretty cheap. He's been hitting probably above his head a little bit, but I do like this matchup for him today. Love the Carpenter call as well. You know, he's going to be looking for a home run. Don't mind Yandy Diaz for Tampa.
All right. Let's see. It looks like we've got about 12 minutes left until lock. So again, reminder, we'll prioritize the questions in the RotoGrinders MLB Crunch Time Discord. If you have those questions and you're a premium subscriber, drop those in. Otherwise, we can take some questions from the YouTube chat as well if time permits. We've got to get through shortstop and outfield, and then we will get to those questions. And while we're at it, just a reminder, if you're in a legal sports betting state, you can sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. Again, FanDuel, great sponsor of the show, allows us to stream this on YouTube for free for you guys every day. New users, special bonus, bet $5, get $200 regardless of whether your bet wins or loses. You can sign up at the FanDuel Sportsbook if you are in a legal sports betting state. Terms and conditions do apply on that. So, all right, Keith, I'll stick with you, and we can move it over to shortstop.
All right. Like these Brewers here at shortstop a lot. You mentioned Urias. He is shortstop eligible as well. Adames, a little bit underpriced after he missed some time on the injured list. So he's a better hitter than this price tag. Love his matchup today. Dansby Swanson is the brave of the position, like him hitting in the 2-hole there against Quintana. Bichette is another one of those Blue Jay one-offs I don't mind against Skubal. I like Bobby Witt from the Royals. And Carlos Correa is a one-off. Not looking to stack Minnesota, but don't mind his matchup against Springs, platoon advantage.
All right, Andre, what do you got at short today?
Pretty much mentioned all the players like Swanson, Carlos Correa, Baez as well, Luis Reyes we mentioned, Corey Seager, not getting any ownership. I like him today against Kopech. I also like Taylor Walsh. I didn't mention before, but I like to think if you're running like a mini Tampa Bay stack, I don't mind. I would not mind having him in there at all, especially being so how cheap he is at 2.2K. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Most of the positions I'll probably be using for my stacks. Marvin Gonzalez too in your Yankee stacks, or Kenner Falefa as well for the Yankees.
And you can mix and match some of these guys that are also eligible, let's say second or third.
Mm-hmm.
Some sites you have utility spots, so some of these middle infield positions pretty strong today, and you can use those. And keep in mind, if you did build your lineups early and you've kind of, maybe you're just listening to the show and you don't have your lineups in front of you, Gleyber Torres did get scratched from the Yankees lineup today. And he would have been a pretty popular middle infield option on FanDuel in particular, where he was, I think, 2,800, 2,900. So if you haven't checked your lineups closely, do make sure that you get Gleyber Torres out of any lineups you might have him. All right, Andre, I'll stick with you, and we can go through outfield, then we'll get to questions.
Okay. First, real quick, I know we got 252 people in the YouTube chat watching. We only got 27 likes. I said I'll give away a free batarang bomb is what I call it, since TJ has a Spidey bomb. When we get to 50 likes, so hit that like button. Helps us all out here and help us gives you these free shows here. But for outfield, I definitely like Ronald Acuna Jr. I think he's everyone's number one option today. Been on fire, hitting the ball well lately. Like Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber. I like Jordan as a one-off, or even if you want to run like a mini Houston stack today. Nick Castellanos is good too as well. Teoscar Hernandez, if you want to use him as a one-off, I would get Screwball. I'd like that too. Juan Soto as well. And I'll give one more out that I do like, and that is Hunter Renfroe if you're running Milwaukee. If you're running like a Milwaukee stack.
Yeah, I like those calls. I think Renfroe is probably the one guy that might get overlooked a little bit. He's another Brewer that was out for a while. They are starting to get a little healthy. Of course, they got Adames back to get Renfroe back, and then Colton Wong got hurt, so now he's going to be out for a couple weeks. Keith, your thoughts on outfield?
Yeah, absolutely loaded here. Acuna, agree, is the top option here. The Phillies are phenomenal options, all three of them. Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, just way too cheap for his skill level. The Yankees are great. Judge and Stanton. I like Benintendi in a Royal stack. Teoscar is underpriced on FanDuel. Springer is, I mentioned, Blue Jays one-offs, probably my favorite option. Tyler O'Neill is really underpriced as well. Juan Soto, love him. Yelich in a Brewer stack for sure. Just, yeah, absolutely loaded here in the outfield.
If you look at Tyler O'Neill's numbers for the year, they're terrible, but he was trying to play through a shoulder injury, came back 4 or 5 days ago, and has looked like a completely different player. Hit a 104 mile per hour off the bat line drive to the wall yesterday. That would have been a grand slam in 15 parks. That ended up just being a sac fly, and then he also had a 2-run double. So, he was 2 feet away from a grand slam and 6 RBIs, which would have had him being mega chalk today, particularly on DraftKings where he's like 3,200. He's 2,700 on FanDuel, so he's pretty cheap everywhere. But if you look at his overall season numbers, they're pretty bad. But you can disregard those to some degree because he looks so much better now, and they're giving Goldschmidt the day off today, so he is batting third. And all right, we can go ahead and get through some questions. I did see Tony was asking in the YouTube chat who was my favorite stack today. I kind of had you guys give your favorite stacks. I do think the top overall stacks are the Braves and the Phillies, just based on their matchups and the way they are playing. But don't mind the Cardinals, as we've mentioned, as a sneakier stack, and even Baltimore against Keller, who doesn't strike out a lot of guys. That's going to be BABIP dependent, but you aren't getting a whole lot of ownership on the Orioles. So if you're looking for something super sneaky, I think they are in play. So, all right, let me go ahead and pivot back over to the MLB Crunch Time chat. Carolina guy has asked for favorite stack. We've gone through that. Favorite pitcher in a single entry. Keith, single entry GPP, are you going with the chalk and Verlander, or are you going with one of the other aces?
Did it say what site?
It says FanDuel.
Where Screwball's priced up a little bit. I don't know if I could get there in a single entry. I love him today, but it is a tough matchup. So I think I would go to Kyle Wright for single entry.
Don't mind that. All right, Amateur Hour asking Andre, DK GPP, Narvaez plus Carpenter, or Sal Perez plus Jace Peterson?
Plus who? Jace Peterson?
Yeah. Narvaez and Carpenter, or Perez and Peterson on DK?
I'm going to go the second one. I like Sal Perez a lot today.
All right. Greatness is asking, Keith, any interest in an Arizona stack as a pivot away from a chalky Suarez?
I don't hate it, but I don't like how they match up. They're very left-handed. I like Christian Walker as a one-off. I don't mind Luplau. I think it's more of a mini stack for me than it would be a full stack, but I don't mind exposure as like a 3 or 4 man stack.
All right, Beener asking about stacks. We've kind of covered that fairly extensively over the last few minutes. Phillies, Braves for chalk. Somebody asked about single entry stack earlier, and the guys kind of agreed that they like Milwaukee as more of a contrarian stack. So those are some options for you. All right, BHB asking DK Cash, Andre. Let's see. This is a 3v3. So option 1 is Moreno, Brujan, and Acuna. And option 2 is Rutschman, Marcano, and Buxton. Got some punts in there.
I'm going to say the first one because it's Cash, the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have had some people asking about weather. I don't think there's anything significant. Maybe pitchers in Philly, maybe pitchers in New York. But really, those aren't pitching options we are really considering unless you're on Suarez, which most of us are not. So chalky Suarez, that's even maybe one more reason to get off of him. But the bats seem to be fine. Maybe just a chance of a delay in those games. All right, Keith, NBA DFS asking Tyler O'Neill or Teoscar Hernandez, Fanduel Cash.
Tyler O'Neill.
All right, that has us caught up on the YouTube or the MLB Crunch Time channel questions. Peek through the YouTube chat here. We've got 3 minutes left. Make sure you get your lineups finalized here. All right, Jason Martinez is asking in the YouTube chat, favorite starting pitcher for DraftKings GPPs under 7,500. It's Cole Sands for me. I mean, the mid-range is pretty ugly today, and he's like 5,300. So when you consider that you get no strikeout upside with got a lot of guys like Suarez and Hudson and Quintana, whom a lot of those guys are over 8K anyway, just go down to Sands against a high strikeout Tampa Bay team. You're saving $2,000, and then you can use that to upgrade some of your bats. All right, Andre, Mike, it does not say format, but Verlander or Wright. What are your thoughts on those two? They missed the earlier.
If you're running as one lineup out there, if you're running one lineup and it's on FanDuel, I'm gonna run Verlander. If it's DK, I'm gonna run Wright.
All right, he did clarify with DK, so I don't mind the right call there. Certainly think in cash Verlander is safe, but Wright has shown that upside ability this year. All right, let's see. Last man in the outfield, Merrifield or Melendez. Keith, who you got? DK GPP.
Ooh. I'll go Melendez there. I just like the power better for him.
Yeah, he's a really strong prospect. Came up as a catcher, obviously looking to get him and Sal Perez in the lineup at the same time. They've maneuvered it around a little bit and had Melendez playing some outfield. He actually made a really good catch in the outfield the other night. So JMVP asking if I would recommend Dakota Hudson in a DraftKings single entry. I would not. His xFIP is about 2 runs higher than his ERA, and he gets like no strikeouts. So, and he's way too pricey for where he should be on DraftKings. I know the pitching is thin today, but again, in a GPP, I'd save the $3,000 and go down to Sands and take your chances and hope you can get some Ks. And I bet the over on the Sands Ks today, so I'm invested in that a little bit. Before we get out of here, we have had some people. We always have people ask for home run calls. We got up. Andre asked for those thumbs up in the YouTube chat. So, again, thanks to those of you who did. We're up to 65 now, so we got to give a home run call before we get out of here. Andre, it's a home run call of the day.
My home run call of the day that I'm going to give out, I mentioned earlier on the show briefly, it's going to be off the board, probably a little bit off the board with Rowdy Tellez. I like him to hit a home run today. Think he's in a good position going against Espinal today.
Keith, you got any home run calls?
And I'm sticking with Milwaukee too. I've got Hunter Renfroe tagged up in lineup HQ as a conviction play. Just love his power coming back. He's underpriced. He's down in the 7 hole, so he's not going to get much ownership. I like Hunter Renfroe.
Let's see. We've got somebody asking in the chat if there's any love for George Costanza against the Nats. So there must be somebody on the Brewers that is referred to by somebody as George Costanza. This
Jason
joke escapes
Alexander
me.
Pitching.
Does he look like it or what?
Jason Alexander
Our
played
name from
George
the show.
Costanza.
All right. Let's see. over my head because I didn't watch it. There you go. I was like,
Not
it's
a
in
Seinfeld
quotes.
fan,
It's got to
huh?
be some type of reference. But I didn't watch the show, so even the show names and all that, just nope, gonna escape me. I can't even blame youth on that one. It's just I never watched it. All right, we've hit lock. Let's see. I don't see any more questions. JMVP says his home run call of the day is Santander. I've got plenty of Baltimore stacks, so I wouldn't mind that. And with that, go ahead. You got anything else?
No, I'm saying I love Baltimore today as well. Like that whole game, I love that whole game this whole weekend, and this hasn't popped off yet. Besides Kansas City on one side, so but I think today we get both sides of the game going for a high score.
Yeah, you just never know when you get relatively bad offenses facing relatively bad pitching. Sometimes you get some 12-10 games. Sometimes you get some 4-2 games, but hopefully we get some offense there today, as I am on that one as well. Keith, anything else from you?
No, I don't have anything else.
All right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and get out of here. Enjoy the sports Sunday, everybody. If you're playing NASCAR, if you're sweating the last day of golf, if you're playing MLB, whatever you might be following today, we wish you the best of luck. Thanks for joining us. I'm Justin. Thanks to Keith and Andre for joining me as well. And thanks to Devin for working hard behind the scenes. And with that, we'll call it a day, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will be back tomorrow.